It's a revolution, style revolution, cultural revolution.
When we come out here, we have a fight.
Evolution does not occur in one stage. It's an evolutionary process. Like people go through different things.
The real content of any kind of revolutionary thrust lies in the principles and the goals that you're striving for.
That you are here. And to be here means that you can't be here by chance.
We have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing.
It's a revolution, style revolution, cultural revolution.
Yo, what up?
Yo, what's up?
You tuned into the Peaceful Rage podcast
Featuring Matt Murphy and Dr. Wes Bellamy. Two brothers,
working in our community,
active, caring for our families.
still trying to get back,
We see what's going on with the big picture.
and we pissed off about it.
Peaceful Rage Podcast.
Peaceful Rage podcast. We had a little hiatus, but we back, family. What's going on, man?
Man, bruh, summertime, man. It's hot.
Summertime.
How's the summer been for you?
Summer has been hectic, bro.
Yeah?
It's been a time for sure, man. We've had the Black Millennial Political Convention, man. Shout out to everybody who helped out with that in D.C.
Word.
Had about 250 Black millennials all come out, man, and we built. Shout out to my guy, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. We had Congressman Clyburn come through. My guy, my brother forever, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. It was a gang of people from all over the country come through, man. Shout out to my sister, Angela Ra. But it was dope, man. And then we had that. Right after that, as soon as I got back, we had the 100 Black Men Summer Academy. And, man, you know, bro, to see 51 African-American males between the grades of 5 and 8 really just talk about their experiences in our local public schools, but to empower them and show their growth over a 2.5-week period, man, it was just a beautiful thing to see. So my summer has been hectic, but, you know, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, no, that's what's up, man. That's dope. So it's, 109 degrees outside. You doing all these fly things, man. Did you have to wear a suit and tie?
So yo, some of the things I wore a suit and tie to, some of the things I just had my t-shirt and my chains on, man. You know, I've been really intentional. I know we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And I know today's topic, for those who haven't figured it out, we're talking about respectability politics.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Civility and such.
Civility and all of that.
Right,
and,
right.
Yo, for real, I've gotten to a point in which I finally feel comfortable with myself. I know I've been this way for probably about the last year or so. And sometimes I'm if I want to wear a suit, like, I'll wear it. I want to wear my bow ties, I'll wear it. But other times, if I just want to wear a t-shirt with a message on it and my chains and some ripped jeans and some sneakers, then that's what I'm gonna do.
Word up. So let's just take a second. Let me ask
Yeah.
you this. How would you define respectability politics?
In my personal opinion, as a politician,
Right,
quote
right.
unquote, right, or as an elected official, to me, respectability politics is you tap dancing. And I know some people will say it's, playing a game, it's chess, not checkers, it's a means to an end. And not everybody politics the same. But to me, just in my personal opinion, is devaluing yourself to increase others, to make them feel comfortable, to allow you to be able to do something.
Okay.
That's a lot, right? I know in that sentence,
Yeah.
but it's like not being your true self because you're having to worry about, or you're bringing in you're factoring in the equation how others may take what you're saying or what you're doing, when really you're just trying to represent the culture or represent yourself to get what we deserve. Now, not even all the times like what we need, whatever, but it's just what we deserve. And I see a lot of respectability politics.
Yeah. Okay. So just for the clarity, like, of this conversation and like a definition moving forward, I think a common expression that we talk about when we come to, like, respectability is often how we present ourselves.
Right.
So it's this idea that we have to, speak the Queen's English in a particular way, right? Or we have to be suited up,
Right.
with a suit and slacks and dress pants and doing the whole thing, a tie, right?
Right.
Like, and I need to look this part in order to be respected and received by the dominant people group, whatever that is. I'm not just saying like just white folks. I'm just saying the people in power.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I'm sure you've been in meetings where it's all black people and you don't come in with a suit on, they'll be looking at you crazy.
Oh, bro.
Right. So it's the
Just last week.
the presentation.
Right.
Right. Okay.
And for me, that's one of the most disappointing things. Now, I will say I have to quantify this with understanding and recognizing my privilege. So there is a certain privilege that I know that I'm afforded, being that I'm 31, I have a doctorate, Like, I've been an elected official since I was 28. You know what I'm saying? And then I've kind of been on the front lines of a civil rights movement. So because of that, I know that I can come into a situation and allow certain credentials to speak for me, or people can Google me, or they know that I've been on the front line, so I don't have to play your game.
Steve Jobs didn't have to wear a suit. But
he didn't, because Cass already knew it was up. And that's not saying that like I believe that I'm better than anybody else or I put myself on this pedestal. But I realized over the past year or so, or year and a half maybe, like when I come into a room, I don't normally have to do the whole rundown like I'm such and such or prove myself. So it's a lot easier for me to be my true authentic self. So if I want to wear my chains and my earrings, I've been on CNN with a Minister Supremacy shirt on and 2 necklaces. Like, it's easier for me to do that, but that's privilege. Okay. Not every brother or sister can do that because they may feel as if they're still trying to get to a certain position where they're commanding a certain amount of respect. Right. For me, also, what I find trouble with is, why do I have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, speak a certain way for you to respect me? Mm-hmm. You should respect me off the rip, not because I have certain credentials. But I love to hear your thoughts. I know, you know.
No, it's good. I'm always curious because I'll be honest, like I've never been in a space where I've felt the need to dress a certain way in order to be better received. Right. Meaning, like, you know, and I'm not saying this is like the sole thing, but I think back to even like when I was preaching. Right. So in those days, I would ask generally, like, is there a dress code, right? Before I come in and preach at, you know, visit some church and preach over there, like, what's the dress code? Because generally my dress code is going to be some jeans and some sneakers, and a t-shirt, right? Yeah. Like, I'm living my life. That's how I'm gonna do it anyway. That's what I want to do. You know, that's how I did it at my church, right? I mean, you come in, look, I used to have folks. They would come in, dog, and this is that phony shit I don't like. They would come in, right, and they would see me, and I would come up, introduce myself, and they'd be like, kind of like, "Oh, hey, how are you? How are you?" And then everything gets started. And I get up, I start talking, and at the end, you're the pastor. Oh, so nice to meet you.
The whole joint switches.
My face with that, man.
The whole joint switch. You know, when they see your title, right? Why do we do that though? Why do we believe that you have to look a certain way? Why do we associate how one looks with their value or their worth? And to me, that's some psychological, like, honestly, if I'm being 100, that's some post-slave traumatic disorder shit. Like, it's post-traumatic slave disorder shit. Because we associate appearance and how massa tell us that we must act for us to deem your value.
You mean Django shouldn't put that suit on?
Bruh. Like, what the fuck, bruh? But again, though, in that, I can understand the privilege. Because we've both, because I say this also, Murph, you've literally spoken in churches all across the country. Right? Different spots. I mean, and even when you first came here, bro, like, you know what I'm saying, you were at one of the biggest churches in the area. So there's a certain amount of respect that people give you because of that position. Okay. And then, you know, when people meet you, like, yo, I mean, it's Murph, like, nobody, not saying nobody's not ever going to disrespect you. Obviously, people will say stuff to us, but there's a certain level of, like, you good.
Well, here's the thing, and I heard this one day. I was talking to somebody, and they said, you know what? People get along with you well because you're comfortable with yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of it. When you are comfortable with yourself in your own skin, in whatever environment you find yourself in, people are attracted to that. They're drawn to that. There's a certain level of even respect, if you would, that they give to that. You know what I mean?
But that's a learned behavior, bro. Not to cut you off. Excuse me.
Okay, go ahead.
That is a learned behavior. No, that's only the point. Like, I just became comfortable with myself probably within the last year and a half.
Right.
Where it's like, I don't have to wear a bow tie every day. I mean, you know me for a while. Like, I literally wear a suit every day. Now, if I want to wear a suit, it's because I want to wear a suit. Right. If I want to wear a t-shirt.
Is that privilege, or is that, let me add to it. Is it privilege or is it accomplishment?
It's both. Because I'm comfortable in my accomplishments. I know that regardless of what I wear, y'all gonna have to respect me. Yo, what up? You tune into the Peaceful Rage podcast featuring me, Dr. Wes Bellamy, and my man, Matt Murphy.
You know, before the show, before we started recording just now, we were talking about LeBron making moves and stuff like that. And I just remember when his house got spray painted.
With
and
nigger on it.
Right. And he talked about that. He talked about, doesn't matter how rich I am.
Right.
I'm still a nigga. You talked about, doesn't matter if I got a bow tie on. We got a PhD. Dr. Nigga.
Yeah. That's what they call me on the message boards.
Right. And so I say it to say, you know, knowing those realities, one, you could walk around like Lil Wayne and act like it don't happen, right? Because you know what I'm saying? Oh, racism ain't nothing, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. Or you can deal with the reality of this thing that no matter what you accomplish in America, at any given point in time, you can be, you can be reduced, if you would, to simply being a nigga in America, right? And whatever that entails, whether that's they unjustly shoot you, they imprison you, they, you know, accuse you, they follow you around the store, whatever that means. But no matter, I saw a joint recently. Samuel Jackson and Magic Johnson were shopping in Italy, right? And some high end joint. Yeah. They got paper, and people came up and cussed them out while they sat on the bench. Because over there in Italy, like the citizens have to pay like $10 a month in some kind of fee that helps to go towards the immigrants that are coming there. And like, you taking our money and blah, 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 blah. Because they didn't know who they were. Multi tens of millions of dollars, you know what I'm saying? Wow. Sitting on this bench and folks coming up and walking up to them, cussing them out.
Wow. Like Jay-Z said, still nigga.
Still.
But when you understand that, I don't know if that's something that like a lot of 20-year-olds quite get, right? Okay. Well, I think we're moving into a climate now in which people are understanding that. Hell, if we're being 100, there's some cats in their 30s or 40s that also don't understand that. They think that they still have to play a game. I have to present myself a certain way because they're chasing and fighting against a stereotype in which they're pushing against something that they believe they have to fight against, but all not keeping in mind that, in the minds of some, you still are going to be less than.
Right.
So you have to get to a point in which you say, fuck what they say, and I'm going to do what I have to do and do what I want to do regardless. But experiences and oftentimes trial and tribulations teach you that.
That's true.
I mean, I didn't learn that until, again, like going through things in which even after like defending my dissertation and graduating and even getting this shit like, you are in the club of the fraternity of less than 1% of all Americans have a doctoral degree. Like you're in that club now. And on the message boards, and I'm feeling myself, and motherfuckers just like, you still Dr. Nigger. Or what does he have a doctorate in? What? They must have just gave him that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why am I even trying to prove myself to these individuals? I just clapped at somebody on Twitter like about this like last week or 2 weeks ago. They was like, he has Dr. Wes Bellamy in his Twitter handle. How the hell did he get a doctorate? Is it even real? And I just had to show the screenshot of my diploma. Like, nah.
Right. You know the trolls,
Wes Bellamy, Doctor of Education. But, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you're right. I hear you and I agree. You know, I'm just thinking like Americans are irreverent people often, right? I mean, that's part of our culture. You know what I mean? Like, I think going all the way back. And at the same time, I think that there's a proper way, if you would, right? I mean, there's a way to conduct. There's a way to conduct yourself inside of culture and society that's acceptable, right? In this context, we're talking about America, right? So there's nothing wrong when you getting ready to go to a job interview that you get your shit together and press your pants and put your button down and get your life right? Do that. But if you feel as though that you have to dress and present yourself in a particular way from a cultural standpoint in order to seem less threatening, in order to seem, less intimidating, in order to seem whatever it might be, like whatever it is in your mind is making you decide, like, I need to put this uniform on in order to do that. Some might call it compromise. Others would call it playing the game. Do you see a fair balance between the two? Is it one or the other? What you think?
So it's definitely playing the game, right? So, for example, Governor Northam is a good friend. That's the homie. He coming, like we text. Like,
shout out to the governor.
Shout out to Governor Northam.
I don't know him, but whatever.
Shout out to Governor McAuliffe.
Up,
you know what I'm saying? Those are dudes who, like, I rock with. If I'm going to the governor's mansion, let me take that back. I'm going with sneakers on. I'm going with Jordans on before. But more times than not, like, I'm going to be dressed a certain way. Not because, like, I feel as if I have to impress him or whatever, but for myself.
That's what's called for in that moment.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Right. And for myself.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that there's a certain way in which I want to present myself, not to assimilate and not to fit in, but for me, I believe that being in this environment calls for being dressed a certain way. But that doesn't mean that I'm devaluing myself to do so, right? I don't know if I would consider that playing the game, but I do think it is important for us to know how to play the game.
So let me ask you this. When might someone devalue themselves?
So to me, the step in fetching, devaluing yourself is when you're on some stuff like, yo, I know that such and such is going to be here. I have to change my vernacular. I have to subdue who I truly am in order to fit in with these people who I view to be in a certain level, right? I'm not doing that. Now, I do think there's a time and place. So, I just finished the game playing at Tonsler.
Right.
While I'm on the court,
Talking
like
shit.
you gonna hit. Everybody know this, right? Like I'm talking shit. I'm cursing. I'm pushing. Right. But we on the court. We around the way. Right. Like that's what calls for that. That's that time. It doesn't mean I'm assimilating, but that side of me is what comes out.
Well, code switch.
Code switch.
Okay, go ahead.
But if I'm at the governor's mansion and I'm with so for example, I'm a Obama one of the Obama fellows when the Obama Foundation first kicked off. I think it was last October. He invited like I think 100 of us to Chicago or whatever, and these are all like literally world leaders, bro. Like cats from all over the world. We all there. This is the first class or whatever. While I was there, yes, I was dressed up, right? Some people were, some people weren't. I'm not going to say that while I was there, I was talking like how I talk at the park.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that I was trying to assimilate or I was doing it just because Obama was there. It was just a time and a place for everything. And I think if we can be able to learn and master that aspect of life, we will be a lot better off, in my opinion.
So it's the ability to effectively communicate.
Boom. Because not all people are going to understand our vernacular.
Right.
Like if me and you talking to, shout out to our guy Coop. I just found out, shout out to Coop also. Coop just graduated from Go Driver. Much love, my brother. I'm super proud of you. And we just got our first win this week. But, you know what I'm saying? So when I'm talking to Coop and we at Tonsler, we going to talk a certain way. But while we are at City Hall, how he communicates with myself and maybe the city attorney and like other people who are there, they may not understand he and I are our vernacular from Tonsler Park. So he's going to have to be able to effectively communicate with people to make them understand. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Right. As long as you're not assimilating or devaluing yourself. You change your vernacular because you want to. Not because someone's forcing you to. You're doing it because of the time and place and the situation in which you're in. And this is the conscious choice that you are choosing to make. Not because somebody else is higher than you, but it's because you want to do. I'm never going to, but again, I also believe this is part of my privilege, but I'm never going to completely switch up and change who I am no matter where I am. Because I believe that, like I've shown that I can conduct myself in certain ways. Because of how I'm acting in this certain moment in time shouldn't mean you respect me any less. Right. Because I'm a human being at the end of the day.
No doubt. So let me just kind of try to boil it down if I could. No, you good. No, you good. I'm just thinking of it like a takeaway. Yeah. So if you're listening right now and you're thinking, okay, hold on a second. What do I do then? I would say, hey, you got an important event, right? You've got something that's meaningful, that's memorable, right? Like, man, get fresh, man. You know what I'm saying? Right. Get right. Like you're not compromising because you're going to your wedding and your fiance wants you to put on a suit. Like, come on, dog, do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean,
ain't nothing wrong with that.
You know, you go into an interview, get right. I'm saying, like, when we begin to put on this image and this, I won't say identity, but this image, if you would, that's supposed to present and project a certain level of respectability based on the way we're speaking, based on physical evidence, based on, body language, whatever the case is. Right. Then I start having a challenge, because at the end of the day, no matter whether or not you dress and speak and conduct yourself in this manner, we know that you can be treated unjustly at a drop of a hat.
No doubt.
Right? So I'm saying there's a time and a place for everything. Conduct yourself accordingly. Sometimes you dress up. Sometimes you got to, communicate in a different and more effective way than you do in another place. And at the same time, if you can communicate and you can put on those presents, don't let it fool you into thinking that you any less than,
So let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
When you get pulled over by the police, do you devalue yourself, or do you how do you not devalue yourself or emasculate yourself but still make it out of that situation safely?
What would be devaluing or emasculating?
So some people will say, I have friends who've said that, yo, when I get pulled over by the police, I'm not doing all that yes sir, no sir. Like, yo, I'm a man. So I give you my license, my registration, but if you pull me over on some bullshit, I'm gonna let you know. And my thought is, like, I got pulled over today, right?
Okay.
I'm
not gonna ask the jurisdiction. Go ahead.
I was driving back from Atlanta. But let me tell you the story real quick. I was driving back from Atlanta. There was traffic in North Carolina, so I got off the exit to try to go around the traffic. It was a part I'm vaguely familiar with, following my ways out, and it just got me going through some small town. Like, I don't know what's going on, right? I make a left turn. Cop pulls me over. He like, yo, he's coming to the car. I'm in this small town now. He coming to the car with his gun, with his hand on his gun, right? I see him. So he comes on the passenger side. He shook. I see it. I'm not even gonna front. I really wasn't even tripping, which I think also is part of my privilege, because I think in my mind off the rip, yo, if you shoot Wes Bellamy, it's gonna be some shit. But I know that's a privilege. That's privilege. So I rode on the car. I just started laughing like, yo, you okay, man? Like, what's going on? He was like, did you just hit someone? And I'm like, no. So he's like, can I see your license and registration? I'm like, okay. And he was like, listen, man. I'm like, are you okay? I asked him for a second time, like, you good? And he was like, listen, I'm just going to tell you what's going on. There was a description of a car just like yours.
Oh, that bullshit. Go ahead.
And there was an accident literally of the same kind of car, make and model. And on the front part of my car, you know, you have the under panel things. It was hanging for some reason. So he was like, yo, I see the front part of your handle under your bumper is off. There's just been a hit and run. I'm not trying to be funny, sir. Can I see your license? And I'm going to ask you again, did you just hit someone? And I'm like, no. Yo, I'm a city councilman. I'm lost. I'm just trying to find out how to get to 85. I hand him my license. He's like, okay, let me just check, make sure it's cool. He gets on his radio. He's like, yo, is that vehicle who was just in the accident, is it still there? Whoever's on the radio is like, yeah, both parties are still here. And he was like, listen, man, he had my license back. Listen, I'm sorry, man. He apologizes. He like, I'm sorry, man, but what are the odds? It's the same kind of car. Your front bumper, something hanging off.
What are the odds?
Yeah, he like, yo, he's like, you heard it on the radio. He's like, I'm not trying to.
No, okay, that's what's up there. I've been pulled over for some. We gotta call you a suspicious vehicle in the area.
Right.
Yeah, but go ahead.
But not. So I mean, he handed me my license. I was like, yo, man, I'm trying to get to 85. I'm lost. Like, how I get to 85? He's like, yo, let me tell you. Go back out, make a left, go straight down. You'll beat all that traffic. And that was it. But if I would have came at it hostile, like, yo, dog, what you pull me over for? Why you got your gun? Would that have made him tense up even more?
To me, that's stupid. Like, had you done that, that'd have been stupid.
I agree.
What would the point of even doing that in that moment of bravado and machismo and testosterone? And here you go.
So this show, as we know, is for everyone, but specifically targeted for brothers.
Right.
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 And I think oftentimes, or not oftentimes, but there are times in which a brother's bravado, his masculinity, in some cases his toxic masculinity, which he shows, I'm a man. And just because you a cop don't mean you can tell me what to do. So he's already on edge when the police officer comes up. And that's their opportunity to show them that, like, nah, you're not going to handle me any kind of way.
Man, listen, man.
I agree with you. I think it's stupid, but that shit happens.
No, I get it. And watch this. I remember years ago, man, seeing this dude, and he, had his baby's mom, and he was creeping on her, or whatever. He was off doing his thing. Whenever he decided to come back, she had started talking to this other dude, right?
Yeah.
And so, he sees dude outside the house, and they start getting into it. Dude is busting his ass, mouth bloody. I mean, he gets whooped up, right? And he's still talking. To the police put him in the back of the car. He's still talking. He got broke off in the project. Everybody watched him get beat down, clowned him, got arrested, right? And he's still talking.
Still popping off.
So I just said that to say, yes, you can feel like a man and still take the L. Yo, what's up? You're listening to the Peaceful Rage podcast featuring me, Matt Murphy, and Dr. Wes Bellamy.
Woo! That's some honesty for your ass.
Now, I mean, and maybe that was important enough for him to go through what he went through in that moment. And maybe it's important enough for those brothers who feel like in that moment, they say, hey, you don't have power over me. But you know what? In actuality, they do. They do. And don't act like they don't. Because they can lie. They can turn that body camera off. They can do all these shit, right? At the end of the day, who's thrown in jail? How many innocent black and brown men are in jail now behind some shit? Because we sat up and said, he don't have power. Oh, yeah, they showed you. And I'm going to say, it's fucked up, dog.
So how do you balance not feeling emasculated in that situation? Is that a position in which respectability politics comes into play?
I think, okay, that's a good question. What does it take for you to feel emasculated? Is your shoes getting scuffed? Your girl tell you you ain't shit? Like your mama tell you that, you know what I'm saying, you a punk? Like I don't know what it means. Some cats just don't have no heart and they get offended by any small thing. Whether it's the police or the dude at the corner store.
That's true.
Like you gonna let that take you there? Like what is it in someone's heart? And this is like on a different topic, but I'm just thinking, what is in someone's heart that feels as though if someone disrespects, quote unquote disrespects, I'm using your thing, right? Quote unquote disrespects them, right? And they feel as though they have to be physically aggressive. We're talking about violent, causing immense pain, distress, risk of freedom. I'm not talking about street stuff. I'm not talking about beef and money being involved. I'm just saying, like, you looked at me sideways. You bumped me. Like, the dude that feels as though he has to express himself in that violent manner, there's probably some real insecurity there, dog.
Undoubtedly. And
so what's emasculation for that dude versus someone that's confident in themselves and like, nah, I'm going to survive this shit and I'm going to keep it pushing.
You're right. So it's different for each brother. And I think it also goes down to whether or not brothers have the tools to be able to deal with certain things.
That's a good point.
But if you don't have the tools, how you define being emasculated or being just how you feel as if you somebody, like we say in Virginia, somebody carrying you, man, he carried me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like he tried me, like we say down south. Like it's gonna be different for different people. Now, tying that into respectability politics, for me, it's tough for me to allow people to get one off on me, just a clear shot.
Okay. City
council meeting. And then the Seville Weekly this week, I mean, some of our listeners probably saw it. They had this whole thing, Bellamy versus Pat, whatever the lady's name is. And this has happened a couple times at city council meetings. So I believe, I'm going to tell the story, but I believe this is both respectability politics as well as like, it's just certain shit that I'm not flying for. So there's a lady who, her and a couple others, they have this thing called Rise Charlottesville, in which they are trying to get all 5 city councilors off the city council, right? And they're mainly focusing on the 3 of us who were elected during the last election or the election before last, in which we're the ones who were currently in office during the August 12th situation. So their whole thing is they have like, I think 1,500 petitions or something like that to get us off the city council because August 12th is our fault and all this other stuff. This lady came to the city council meeting at the last meeting. And she laid a tangent saying that, yo, we're the worst city council ever. The three of us specifically need to be off the council. We have blood on our hands. The situation that happened in August 12th was the worst thing that's ever happened to Charlottesville. Everything that's been happening from the statues to everything else is the worst thing that's ever happened to Charlottesville. And she was just going. Nobody else on the council said nothing. But to me, I was like, yo, I'm not letting you get that off. So as a man, and specifically as a black man, I took real offense to that. Because, yo, people were lynched here.
Right.
People sold here.
Right.
Right. Like families literally were ripped apart at Monticello from the dude Thomas Jefferson, who everybody lauds in this community. Right. So don't tell me that it's all our fault. And she didn't even mention the white supremacists who actually came here and killed someone.
Right.
Right. Like they are the ones who decided to come to our community. And you're going to blame city council for that? Now, that doesn't mean the city council we're not at fault. Like, we definitely have to take some responsibility in the way the situation was handled and so forth. But you're not going to blame all that on me. You're not going to blame all that on us.
Well, and you're not going to make an outrageous statement like that either.
Right. So I told her that, literally that, right? And I saw in the news the next day and, like, you know, in the paper and all this other stuff, like, you know, boom, 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 like, damn, Wes, you know, he says stuff back to people when they say something crazy. Right. And sometimes I do. Because I feel like, yo, I'm just, the respectability politics to me is just like, oh, all right, like, you can come up here, you can spaz on me, and then, like, I'm not going to say nothing.
Right.
Like,
right.
Nah, bro, it don't work like that. There was another situation when this dude came up and he talked about, and I said in the thing to the lady, Miss Pat, like, yo, why is it whenever a black man or a person of color decides to say something back, oh, we're picking on them, or so on and so forth. There was a dude last year who came to city council meeting and he was like, I just want to compromise. Like, we all just need to have a compromise, like about the statues and race relations and so forth. And I was like, yo, he left his hat at the city. He left his hat at the
podium.
The podium. Thank you. So I told him, yo, I'm just gonna be 100. He left. He walked off. He left his hat. I told him, hey, sir, come back. You left your hat. And when he came back and got his hat, I said, hey, take that compromise with you. Black folks, we tired of compromising.
Right.
Tired of compromising about statues to racist white people, white supremacists who would have wanted me sold because I'm a big buck. Like, we're not compromising about stuff like that. We're not compromising around the topic of equity. We're not compromising around the topic of race. And yes, it's important for me to let you know that. But whenever we decide to say something, or if I say something like that, it's like, oh, I'm picking on them, or so on and so forth. And to me, I think that's respectability politics. I'm not doing that shit. Because
you were in the position of power at that point.
Right.
When you made those comments and said whatever it was that you had to say, like, you were in that position. And so let's just take it back to the brother getting pulled over, right? He gets pulled over. The police may or may not be respectful in that conversation. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he feels instantly aggravated. You know, now, mind you, I've seen white folks cuss police all the way
Slam out.
Drunk. Look,
put their hands on them.
Hold up. I just talked to somebody up in D.C. The other week when they won the Stanley Cup joint.
Yeah.
Said she was out there kicking it, and the white dude was out there dancing. They were like playing live music. White dude was out there dancing on the street.
Right.
Police about 15 feet away pulled out a bag of cocaine.
What?
Put it on his hand, tooted the line, and kept kicking it right there on the street. So what I'm saying, right? So I'm saying, like, you know, if we have now been able to come to terms with the reality of what we're dealing with, where some people can have cocaine on the streets and they can have rowdy celebrations that we call riots in other places.
No, hold on. Not to cut you off.
What?
You said some people, white people.
True that.
Because we're not allowed to do that.
No.
So, yeah, let's be clear.
Right. Good point. So you know, so you see that and like, okay, now when I'm pulled over by this person, I don't care what color the police is, but when I'm pulled over by them, I recognize where I'm sitting. And at that point, my conduct needs to be modified. Does that make sense?
Yes. That makes perfect sense.
You're gonna operate with a how would I put this? You're gonna operate as an academic when you are not in the academic environment and you're trying to relate to people. Of course you're not.
No.
Are you gonna operate with another kind of mentality when you're in a different kind of setting? right? Not necessarily, because why? You want to be effective and impactful in what is it you're doing and you're trying to communicate. In this situation, dude pulled me over. I want to go home and not jail. I want to go home and not die.
Yo, and at the end of the day, that's it. That's it. Bro, I'm trying to go home. We will fight and argue in court. Real shit. Let's go home.
Right.
This ain't the time to argue. This ain't the time to beef with the cop.
Wes, because we know justice is not served at the street level. Matter of fact, that's where a lot of the injustice begins. Therefore, exactly. Right? So now if we understand it from that directive, then we have to operate like accordingly. Like if you are behind enemy lines, you're not talking loud. You're not kicking it with your friends. No. You're not building a big fire when you camping out. Right. You behind enemy lines. Right. There's a different way you can conduct yourself than you at peace at home.
So is that respectability politics, or is that playing the game and being smart?
I don't know if that's respectability politics. I mean, I think, well, I do think it's playing the game and being smart. You know what I mean? Like, so I will say this, and to the young brothers that's out there, take it or leave it. That's up to you. You grown, right? When the police pull me over, right? Mm-hmm. I have a license in my hand.
Yeah.
I have both my hands
on the steering wheel.
On the steering wheel.
Oh.
I will roll the window down, have both hands out with the driver's license, palms open, hands out.
Oh shit.
Right? And you know what that also does?
Puts them at ease.
It puts them at ease. But you know what?
What?
They say he knows somebody that told him.
Oh.
He knows something. Right? I learned that from police.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm just saying, like, am I compromising? Am I being emasculated? No, I'm trying to ensure and increase the odds of me getting out the situation in an advantageous manner, whether it's me not getting a ticket or me just going home.
So you're making.
I don't feel like I did nothing like any less than what I would have done. Like, I've been to places. You may have been to places overseas. When you pull up in the gas station, there is a soldier with an automatic rifle at the gas pump, looking in your car while you pumping gas.
Yeah.
F your rights. Like, who are you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you might have to pay that nigga $20 before you leave the parking lot. And that's a real thing too.
That's real.
So that's the game. I'm not saying that's the game. I'm not saying that's right.
So understand and know how to play and maneuver and navigate through that so that you can be successful. Let me ask you this question. So when you're pulled over, or if you're pulled over in Charlottesville or Albemarle, do you do the thing with putting your hands out?
If the police pull me over, that's why I roll the window down. I'll have my driver's license, you know what I'm saying, in my hand already, and I'll be ready. Or my hands will be on the steering wheel, or my hands will be out.
Yeah, no matter where you're at. I'm not gonna fry. I don't do that.
I mean, that's you probably have also gotten pulled over more than I have. Just in us talking, like, and us and having conversations. Like, I think you've been pulled over more frequently than me.
I feel like, yo, bro, real shit, dog. And I remember one time, y'all, I used to feel like I was getting pulled over like once every couple of weeks, once a month, bro. Like, just being pulled over. I don't know if it was profiled or I was just being dumb, but like, and more times than not, bro, I would get pulled over and they would let me go. But like, yo, all right, you good.
Hey, hold on. Let me throw this out there real quick, man, because we had a little bit of a conversation similar to some of this. Imagine for a second that you are, you kicking it, right? You out and you in the spot, right?
Yeah.
And you meet some bad honey, right? Just like, you're like, oh my God. And she speak French. Mm-hmm. And you just so happen to know a little bit of French, right? Maybe enough to be dangerous,
right?
Right? Maybe enough just to be like,
where you going with this, bro? Help me out.
Listen to me now.
Okay,
you're not gonna speak that French to that girl.
So
now for me to
that's
be able,
real.
You see what I'm saying? So now if I'm in this situation, if I understand a little bit of the speak, I'm gonna speak that in order to get advantage. Right? I've heard somebody say, if you can understand the vocabulary of a business, you can do that business. So if I understand the vocabulary of these kinds of encounters, if I understand the vocabulary of and the conduct of this type of situation, it's not guaranteeing me anything, but it's increasing the chances I'm going to get her a number, or it's increasing the chances I'm going to go home, I'm going to play it.
So why do we treat that any different, or judge that or value that any differently when we're in other settings or surroundings, and whether it be the corporate world or interacting with police or just business or whatever, politics, whatever?
Again, I think I go back to my previous point, which would have been, if you're doing those things and then you've internalized this idea that because I'm doing these things, I'm at another level, you have to receive me in a certain way, I would say, nah, that's respectability, and you probably playing yourself.
On that note, yo, go replay them last 2 minutes that Murph just said, because that was some game. So, yo, as always, man, we want to thank the listeners. Appreciate y'all rocking with us.
Absolutely, man.
Shout out to our sponsors.
LifeView Marketing, Ty Cooper.
Shout out to our producer, The Ear. Yo, what up, man? At Damani for prayers, hit him up. And also, if you want to be able to sponsor with us, or you want to come through on the show, look out for us. Hit us up on Gmail at peacefulragepodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on social media at Peaceful Rage Podcast on all social media websites. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.